Shalom Alachem, and welcome back to the broadcast. Peace be upon you. I am Sean, your host. Website can be found at www.scriptureandprophecy.com. Today we are looking at our seventh reading, our seventh Torah Parsha portion, Vayetze, which means he went out. And the title comes from the first verse of the reading, which says, "And Jacob went out from Beersheba." And this portion tells the story of Jacob's flight from his brother Esau, his vision at Bethel, his employment with his uncle Laban, and his marriage to the two sisters Rachel and Leah. And then Jacob's double marriage results in a baby-bearing contest that gives him 11 sons. And at the end of the portion, Jacob leaves Laban and returns to the land of Canaan, but not before Laban tries to stop him. And by the way, that summary comes from TorahPortions.org, which is where I get the Torah portion calendar and stuff from. So that's Genesis chapter 28, starting with verse 10, and it goes to Genesis chapter 32, verse 2. That is what is on the docket today. Now, as I spoke about yesterday, I released a short little podcast yesterday. This week I am reading from the Sefer. I'm not replacing my King James Bible. I just want to review this Bible, this Sefer Bible, and the best way to do it is actually read from it, study from it, and that's how I can find out if there's any critical errors or things that trouble me. And so we'll be reading from the Sefer today and doing a small little Hebrew study that involves the name of God as we go along, because there's something I want to show you guys that you may not realize otherwise. So that is the plan for this morning, and we need to get started here very quickly because we got a lot of content to get through real quick. If you go to scriptureandprophecy.com, that's where you can support the work that I am doing and support this mission of truth. And I just want to say thank you for being with me all year, supporting me all year. Patreon subscribers, thank you so much for supporting me all year. Another Hebrew video will be coming your way very, very soon. As my way of saying thank you. So I just really, really appreciate you guys supporting this work, and it blesses me beyond what I deserve. So thank you for that. And if you want to be a part of that, scriptureandprophecy.com. And all the links on how to support are there. Okay, let's begin. So we are starting with chapter 28, verse 10. We have Jacob's dream at Bethel is how this is all going to begin. Again, I'm reading from the Sefer. And let's get started here, starting with verse 10. And Yaakov went out from Beersheba, and he went toward Haran. And he lightened upon a certain place, and he tarried there all night, because the sun was set. And he took the stones of that place, and he put them for his pillow, and he lay down in that place to sleep. And he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven, and behold, the angels of Elohim ascending and descending on it. And behold, YAHUAH stood above it, and said, I am YAHUAH Elohai, of Abraham, your father, and the Elohim of Yitzchak, the land whereon you lie. To you will I give it, and to your seed, and your seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and you shall spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south, and in you and in your seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. And behold, I am with you, and I will guard you in all places whither you go. It will not bring you again into this land, for I will not leave you. And I will bring you again into this land, for I will not leave you until I have done that which I have spoken to you of. All right, so here's where our little Hebrew study comes in. Now, in this particular translation, where it's in the King James, it says, I am the Lord God of Abraham. But in this translation, it says, YAHUAH Elohai. Now, here's what most like sacred name Bibles and things like that will translate it. It'll translate it as YAHUAH Elohim or Yehovah Elohim. But it's actually, if you go and you pull up a Hebrew Bible, I'm not talking about Strong's and I'm not talking about Brown's or any of those. I'm talking about you grab a Hebrew Bible and you're reading it in Hebrew. It says it says YAHUAH Elohai. And here's the thing about Strong's, and I just want to let you know this, those of you who use Strong's. I use Strong's, I use Brown's Concordance. It's the one called Smith. I use several different ones. But here's the problem, is in most cases they're just showing you like a root word. Okay, so you think you're comparing, but you're really not. You're just looking at root words. And if you were to go look at this verse, Genesis chapter 28, verse 13, and you go look, you'll see Yahuwah or Jehovah, and then the next word will say Elohim in Strong's or Brown's or whatever it is. But not when you go look at the actual Hebrew. And to really do these studies properly, if you're going to compare manuscript versus what is translated in English, you have to be able to go back to the Hebrew yourself. And I'm not saying don't do word studies using Strong's and stuff like that. It's very, very helpful, and it'll definitely enhance your learning. Just know that it's very likely, very possible that you're just looking at a root word. You're not looking at the actual word in the text necessarily. Because I've never seen it translated Elohai before. And so I thought, I'm going to go look. So I go look at Strong's, and it says Elohim's, and it said Elohim. I said, okay, that's what most Bibles, or Bibles like this is how they typically translate it, but let me pull up the Hebrew for myself, the actual Hebrew text. And I pulled it up. I'm looking at verse 13. I'm reading through it. I see Ani Yehovah Elohai, which I find very interesting, because the word El in Hebrew can mean God, and the word Hai in Hebrew can mean life. So it's almost like it's, and maybe I'm overstepping my bounds here with my limited Hebrew knowledge, but I would almost translate that in English. You know, if I were translating it today in English with the limited knowledge that I have, I would translate it Yehovah, the God of life of Abraham. Because El and Hai means God life. So interesting. And some of you are probably falling asleep on that right now, like this is boring, but that's the kind of stuff that gets me going. I don't know why, but it's very, very exciting, and that's what it means. So there you go. So if you're doing your studies, the more Hebrew you can know so that you can go look at it yourself in the text, the actual Hebrew text, the better. If you have eSword, you can actually download Hebrew Old Testament where it's just the Hebrew, no English. You know, if you click on like the King James Plus, which is the King James plus the Hebrew, again, you're going to get just the root word, which in this case is H430. This is using the Brown Divers Briggs. It says Elohim, but that's not, like I said, that's not what it says in the actual Hebrew text. It is in fact Elohai. So there you go. Now let's get back to the actual study that we're looking at. Jacob, he stumbles upon this place, the scriptures say, which is interesting. He just says he went out from Beersheba and he went toward Haran, and he lightened upon a certain place. Like he just happened to stumble upon it, and he decided to take a nap. And then he had this dream, and he sees this ladder, and he sees the angels descending and ascending and moving up and down on it. And behold, it says, Yahuwah stood above it. It's not like it's the angel of the Lord or whatever. It's like, it's God. He's standing above it, and he says, I am Yahuwah Elohai of Abraham, your father, the Elohai of Yitzchak. And the land whereon you lie, I will give it to your seed, and your seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and you shall spread abroad to the west and to the east and to the north and to the south. And in you and in your seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. And of course that prophecy is talking the Messiah will come through the line of Jacob. And of course all the world will be blessed, because all the world will be brought into a salvation covenant with God if they will trust upon Mashiach. And behold, I am with you, and I will guard you in all places whither you go, and will bring you again into this land, for I will not leave you until I have done that which I have spoken of. Continuing on, verse 16. And Yaakov awoke out of his sleep, and he said, Surely Yahuwah is in this place, and I knew it not. And he was afraid, and he said, "How dreadful is this place! This is none other than the house of Elohim, and this is the gate of heaven." Now, I know I'm moving along way slower than I need to be moving, but I can't help but point out that I always find it interesting, this statement that Jacob makes. He says, "How dreadful is this place?" I think what he's getting at is, how afraid am I, because I feel like I'm in the presence of God. The scriptures say the fall into the hands of God is a fearful thing. And, anytime a man even comes face to face with an angel, he falls on his face in great fear. And to actually hear the audible voice of God, I mean, what fear that would cause. And so when he says this is a dreadful place, I don't think he means it like with negative connotation. I think he's just simply saying this is a frightening place. Frightening to be in the presence of God. All right, we got to move quicker. And Yaakov rose up early in the morning, and he took the stone that he had put for his pillow, and he set up for a pillar and poured oil upon the top of it. And he called the name of that place Bethel, but the name of the city was called Luz at the first. And Yaakov vowed a vow, saying, "If Elohim will be with me and guard me in this way that I go, I will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, so that I come again to my father's house in peace. Then shall YAHUAH be my Elohim." By the way, that's an important statement that's going to come in handy later on. He's saying, look, if God's going to provide for me, he's going to take care of me, and he proves it through actually doing these things. He is going to be my God forever. Verse 22, "And this stone which I have set for a pillar shall be Elohim's house, and of all that you shall give me, I will surely give the 10th unto you." Chapter 29. Then Yaakov went on his journey, and he came into the land of the people of the east, and he looked, and behold, a well in the field, and lo, there were 3 flocks of sheep lying by it, for out of the well they watered the flocks. And a great stone was upon the well's mouth, and thither there were all the flocks gathered. And they rolled the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the sheep, and put the stone again upon the well's mouth in his place. And Yaakov said unto them, "My brethren, whence be ye?" And they said, "Of Haran are we." And he said unto them, "Know ye Laban, the son of Nachor?" And they said, "We know him." And he said unto them, "Is he well?" And they said, "He is well. And behold, Rachel his daughter comes with sheep." And he said, "Lo, it is yet high day, neither is it time that the cattle should be gathered together. Water ye the sheep, and go and feed them." And they said, "We cannot until the flocks be gathered together, until they roll the stone from the well's mouth. Then we water the sheep." And while he yet spoke with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she kept them. And it came to pass, when Yaakov saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban his mother's brother, that Yaakov went near and rolled the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the flock of Laban his mother's brother. And Yaakov kissed Rachel, and lifted up his voice, and wept. And Yaakov told Rachel that he was her father's brother, and that he was Rivkah's son. And she ran, and she told her father. And it came to pass, when Laban heard of the tidings of Yaakov his sister's son, that he ran to meet him, and embraced him, and kissed him, and brought him to his house. And he told Laban all these things. And Laban said to him, "Surely you are my bone and my flesh." And he abode with him the space of a month. And Laban said to Yaakov, "Because you are my brother, should you therefore serve me for naught? Tell me, what shall your wages be?" And Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the other was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored. And Yaakov loved Rachel, and he said, "I will serve you 7 years for Rachel, your younger daughter." And Laban said, "It is better that I give her to you than I should give her to another man. Abide with me." And Yaakov served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed unto him but a few days, for the love he had for her. I just think that's a beautiful line. Here he is. Laban's like, "Hey, look, you shouldn't be working for free. You're my flesh and blood, for crying out loud. What do you like? Just tell me what you want your wages to be, and I'm going to pay you that." And Jacob says, "I'm going to work 7 years for you. I want your younger daughter, Rachel," because he loved Rachel. Laban agrees, and Jacob puts in the 7 years, but it says to him it just felt like nothing. It says Yaakov served 7 years for Rachel's, and they seemed unto him but a few days. They just flew by. It was no burden at all. Why? Because of the love that he had for Rachel. I just think that's beautiful. Verse 21. And Yaakov said unto Laban, Give me my woman, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go into her. And Laban gathered all the men of the place and made a feast. And it came to pass in the evening that he took Leah his daughter and brought her to him, and he went in unto her. And Laban gave unto his daughter Leah his maid for a handmaid. And it came to pass that in the morning, behold, it was Leah, and he said to Laban, What is this you have done to me? Did I serve you for Rachel? Wherefore then have you beguiled me? And Laban said, It must not be done so in our country to give the younger before the firstborn. Fulfill her week, and we will give you this also for the service which you shall serve with me yet 7 other years. And Yaakov did so, and fulfilled her week, and he gave him Rachel his daughter to be his woman also. And Laban gave to Rachel his daughter Bilhah his handmaid to be her maid. And he went in also unto Rachel, and he loved also Rachel more than Leah, and served with him yet 7 more years. So Jacob ended up having to work 14 years for Rachel. And the scriptures say that he loved Rachel much more than he loved Leah. And it's just painfully obvious, and it becomes painfully obvious to God, as we're going to see here in a minute. And God is going to bless Leah with more children because of this. Also, Laban's got some character issues, obviously. I mean, he tricks Jacob, brings in his older daughter in the middle of the night, and then Jacob lies with the older daughter, only to wake up in the morning and find out that it's Leah, not Rachel. But one can't help but wonder if maybe that's just a little bit of reaping what you sow. After all, he did deceive Esau and deceive his father Isaac out of the blessing, even though the blessing was entitled to Jacob because of God's promise. But either way, maybe the two are not connected, but that just came into my mind as I'm reading that. Maybe they are connected. Let's continue, verse 31. And when YAHUAH saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. And Leah conceived and bore a son, and she called his name Reuben. For she said, Surely YAHUAH has looked upon my affliction. Now therefore my man will love me. And she conceived again and bore a son, and she said, Because YAHUAH has heard that I was hated, he has therefore given me this son also. And she called his name Shimeon. And she conceived again and bore a son, and said, Now this time my man will be joined unto me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore was his name called Levi. And she conceived again and bore a son, and she said, Now I will praise YAHUAH. Therefore she called his name Yehudah, and left bearing. You know, and I kind of read that, and it's kind of sad, because Leah's like, she has 1 child, and you all know it takes 9 months to do all this, right? And she says, now my man's going to love me. And she has another child. I don't know who knows how long between the 2 children were, but again, she makes that statement like 3 times. Now my man will love me. Now my man will love me, because I'm bearing these children. But this last time she gets the praise right. Like, this time she's not saying, now my man will love me because I have children. Now she says, I will praise YAHUAH because he's blessed me. He's opened up my womb. Therefore she called his name Yehudah, and that'd be the name of Judah, Yehudah. And then she stopped bearing children, at least at that moment. Chapter 30. And when Rachel saw that she bore Yaakov no children, Rachel envied her sister, and said unto Yaakov, Give me children, or else I die. And Yaakov, angered, was kindled against Rachel, and he said, Am I Elohim's stead, who has withheld from you the fruit of the womb? And she said, Behold, my maid Bilhah, go in unto her, and she shall bear upon my knees, that I may also have children by her. And she gave him Bilhah her handmaid to be his woman. And Yaakov went in unto her, and Bilhah conceived and bore Yaakov a son. And Rachel said, Elohim has judged me, and has also heard my voice, and has given me a son. Therefore called his name Dan. Now, clearly, Jacob did not learn any lessons from his father Abraham in regards to this, because just like Abraham went into the handmaid of Sarah and bore Ishmael, which ended up becoming a serious problem, here we have Jacob doing something similar, going into Rachel's handmaid. And then that is how we get Dan. Verse 7. And Bilhah, Rachel's maid, conceived again, and she bore Yaakov a second son. And Rachel said, with great wrestling I have wrestled my sister, and I have prevailed. And she called his name Naphtali. When Leah saw that she had left bearing, she took Zilpah, her maid, and gave her Yaakov to be his woman. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bore Yaakov a son. And Leah said, a troop comes, and she called his name Gad. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bore Yaakov a second son. And Leah said, happy I am, for the daughters will call me blessed. And she called his name Asher. And Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest, and found mandrakes in the field, and brought them unto his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, give me, I pray you, of your sons mandrakes. All right, I'm going to pause and do something on the fly here. Something I'm noticing in this at Sefer is, earlier it said El Jacob, and then right now it says, then Rachel said to El Leah, give me. So I need to go see if this L is really in here, so I apologize. This is a study on the fly, so we're going to go to our Hebrew Bible. We're going to go to chapter 30, and we're looking for verse 14, and I'm going to see if that's really in the Hebrew. Verse 14, I need to find the name Leah here. Bear with me as I do this, and wouldn't you know it, it does say that, El Leah. That is interesting. I don't understand why that's there. El Leah. Because El is like it almost means like master or something like that. Or God. And you'll see a lot of names that end with El. Michael. Gabriel. So in the Hebrew, it really does say El Leah. Okay. That's going to require some more study, but I had to double check this. Now, I bet you if I go look at Strong's, it's not going to say that. Verse 14. Then Rachel said to Leah, if you go, it's H3812, which just says Leah. So the Strong's will not show you that. You can only test this by actually being able to look at it and read it in the Hebrew. This is why I study Hebrew, friends. It's not because I want to be special and be able to use Hebrew words. It's because I want to be able to go look at the text myself and see for myself. Because you have to remember, the people who created Strong's and created all these, they are also human beings, and it's also their rendition or their interpretation of what the word means. So reading Hebrew has great value if you want to dig deeper. And of course, this doesn't answer any questions for me other than to confirm that it really does say El Leah, and now I've got to figure out why. But that's for another time. All right, sorry about that pause. And then Rachel said to El Leah, give me, I pray you, of your sons mandrakes. Verse 15. And she said unto her, it is a small matter that you have taken my man, and would you take away my son's mandrakes also? And Rachel said, therefore she shall lie with you tonight for your son's mandrakes. And Yaakov came out of the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him and said, you must come in unto me, for surely I have hired you with my son's mandrakes. And he lay with her that night, and Elohim hearkened unto Leah, and she conceived and bore Yaakov a fifth son. And Leah said, Elohim has given me my hire, because I have given my maiden to my man. And she called his name Yishkar. And Leah conceived again, and bore Yaakov a sixth son. And Leah said, Elohim has endued me with good dowry. Now will my man dwell with me, because I have borne him 6 sons. And she called his name Zuvalan. And afterwards she bore a daughter, and called her name Dinah. And Elohim remembered Rachel, and Elohim hearkened to her, and opened her womb, and she conceived and bore a son, and said, Elohim has taken away my reproach. And she called his name Joseph, and said, YAHUAH shall add to me another son. And it came to pass, when Rachel had borne Joseph, that Yaakov said unto Laban, Send me away, that I may go into my own place, and to my own country. Give me my women and my children, for whom I have served you, and let me go, for you know my service which I have done. And Laban said unto him, I pray you, if I found favor in your eyes, tarry, for I have learned by experience that YAHUAH has blessed me for your sake. And he said, Appoint me your wages, and I will give it. So Laban's basically saying, I don't want you to leave, because having you around, that leads, you're so blessed by the hand of God that it's overflowing onto me, is basically what he's saying here. Please stick around, because I want that favor to continue to be with me. And as I'm reading it, I'm just thinking, that's the kind of person I want to be. I want to be the type of person that people say, I want you around because clearly God's hand is on you. God's favor is upon you. And it's so upon you that it's overflowing into my life. Let's continue, verse 29. And he said unto him, You know how I have served you, and how your cattle was with me, for it was little which you have before I came, and it is now increased in the multitude, and YAHUAH has blessed you since my coming. And now when shall I provide for my own house also? And he said, What shall I give you? And Yaakov said, You shall not give me anything, if you will do this thing for me. I will again feed and guard your flock. I will pass through all your flock today, removing from thence all the speckled and spotted cattle, and all the brown cattle among the sheep, and the spotted and speckled among the goats, and such shall be my hire. So shall my righteousness answer for me in the time to come, when it shall come from my hire before your face. Every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats, and brown among the sheep, that shall be counted stolen with me. And Laban said, Behold, I would it might be according to your word. And he removed the goats that were ring-straked and spotted, and all the she-goats that were speckled and spotted, and every one that had some white in it, and all the brown among the sheep, and he gave them into the hand of his sons. And he set 3 days' journey betwixt himself and Yaakov fed the rest of Laban's flocks. And Yaakov took him rods of green poplar, and of the hazel, and of the chestnut tree, and piled white strakes in them, and made the white appear, which was in the rods. Verse 38. And he set the rods which he had piled for the flocks in the gutters in the watering troughs, when the flocks came to drink, that they should conceive when they came to drink. And the flocks conceived before the rods, and brought forth cattle, ring-straked, speckled, and spotted. And Yaakov did separate the lambs, and set the faces of the flocks towards the ring-straked, and all the brown in the flocks of Laban. And he put his flocks by themselves, and put them into Laban's cattle. And it came to pass, whensoever the stronger cattle did conceive, that Yaakov laid the rods before the eyes of the cattle in the gutters, that they may conceive among the rods. But when the cattle were feeble, he put them not in, so that the feebler were Laban's, and the stronger Yaakov's. And the man increased exceedingly, and had much cattle, and maidservants, and menservants, and camels, and asses. Chapter 31. We're closing in on finishing here. We've got to go to, we basically have to read this next chapter here. Chapter 31. And he heard the words of Laban's son, saying, Yaakov has taken away all that was our father's, and that was which our father's has gotten. He has gotten all his glory. And Yaakov beheld the countenance of Laban, and behold, it was not toward him as before. And YAHUAH said unto Yaakov, Return unto the land of your fathers and your kindred, and I will be with you. And Yaakov sent, and he called Rachel and Leah to the field unto his flock. And he said unto them, I see your father's countenance, that it is not toward me before, but the Elohim of my father has been with me. And you know that which with all my power I have served your father. And your father has deceived me, and changed my wages 10 times. But Elohim suffered him not to hurt me. If he said thus, The speckled shall be your wages, then all the cattle bore speckled. And if he said thus, The ring-straked shall be your hire, then bore all the cattle ring-straked. Thus Elohim has taken away the cattle of your father and given them to me. And it came to pass at the time that the cattle conceived, that I lifted up my eyes, and I saw in the dream, and behold, the rams which leaped upon the cattle were ring-straked and speckled and grizzled. And the angel of Elohim spoke unto me in a dream, saying, Yaakov. And I said, Here I am. And he said, Lift up now your eyes and see, all the rams which leap upon the cattle are ring-straked, speckled, and grizzled, for I have seen all that Laban does unto you. I am the Elohim of Bethel, where you anointed the pillar, and where you vowed a vow unto me. Now arise, get you out from this land, and return unto the land of your kindred. And Rachel and Leah answered and said unto him, Is there yet any portion or inheritance for us in our father's house? Are we not counted of him strangers? For he has sold us, and has quite devoured our money. For all the riches of Elohim he has taken from our father, that is ours, and our children's. Now then, whatsoever Elohim has said unto you, do. Then Yaakov rose up, and he set his son and his women upon camels, and he carried away all his cattle, and all his goods which he had gotten, the cattle of his getting which he had gotten, and Padaram Aram, for to go to El Yitzchak, his father, in the land of Canaan. And Laban went to shear his sheep, and Rachel had stolen the teraphim that were her father's. Now, that teraphim, I believe what it's referring to is like some idols that Laban had, and for whatever reason, Rachel took them. And Yaakov stole away unawares to Laban the Aramene, and that he told him not that he fled. So he fled with all that he had, and he rose up, and he passed over the river, and set his face towards Mount Gilead. And it was told Laban on the third day that Yaakov has fled. And he took his brethren with him, and pursued after him 7 days' journey, and they overtook him in the Mount Gilead. And Elohim came to Laban the Aramene in a dream by night, and said unto him, Take heed that you speak not to Yaakov, either good or bad. Then Laban overtook Yaakov. Now Yaakov had pitched his tent in the mount, and Laban with his brethren pitched in the mount of Gilead. And Laban said to Yaakov, What have you done, that you have stolen away unawares to me, and carried away my daughters as captives, taken with the sword? Wherefore did you flee away secretly, and steal away from me, and did not tell me, that I might have sent you away with mirth, and with song, with tabret, and with harp, and have not suffered me to kiss my sons and my daughters? You have now done foolishly in so doing. Now, Laban, of course, is playing the nice guy right here, but that's because just before that, he ended up having a vision from God, and God said, watch your step, right? And so now, instead of Laban wanting to do violence to Jacob, he's saying, How dare you leave, and I haven't got to kiss my family yet. And I would have sent you away with songs and with mirth, right? Verse 29. It is the power of my hand to do you hurt, but Elohim of your father spoke unto me yesterday, saying, Take heed that you speak not to Yaakov, either good or bad. And now, though you would needs to be gone, because you sore longed after your father's house, yet wherefore have you stolen my Elohim? He's saying, Where have you stolen my God? He's talking about what Rachel has taken. And Yaakov answered and said to Laban, Because I was afraid, for I said, Perchance you would take by force your daughters from me. With whosoever you find in your Elohim, let him not live. Before your brethren discern what is yours with me, and take it to you. For Yaakov knew not that Rachel had stolen them. And Laban went into Yaakov's tent, and into Leah's tent, and into the 2 maidservants' tents, and he found them not. Then he went out of Leah's tent, and entered into Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the teraphim, and put them in the camel's furniture, and sat upon them. And Laban searched all the tent, but found them not. And she said to her father, Let it not displease my lord that I cannot rise up before you, for the custom of women is upon me. And he searched, but found not the teraphim. And Yaakov was wroth, and he chode with Laban. And Yaakov answered and said to Laban, What is my transgression? What is my sin that you have so hotly pursued after me? Whereas you have searched all my stuff, what have you found of your household stuff? Set it here before my brethren and your brethren, that we may judge betwixt us both. This 20 years I have been with you, your ewes and your she-goats, and have not cast their young, and rams and your flocks, and have not eaten. That which was born of beast I brought not unto you. I bore the loss of it. Of my hand did ye require it, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. Thus I was in the day of drought consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sheep departed from my eyes. Thus have I been 20 years in your house. I have served you 14 years for your 2 daughters, and 6 years for your cattle, and you have changed my wages 10 times. Except the Elohim my father, the El-Hai of Abraham, and the fear of Yitzchak have been with me, surely you had sent me away now empty. Elohim has seen my affliction and the labor of my hands, and rebuked you yesternight. Verse 43. And Laban answered and said unto Yaakov, These daughters are my daughters, and these children are my children, and these cattle are my cattle, and all that you see is mine. And what can I do this day unto these my daughters, or unto their children which they have borne? Now therefore, come, let us cut a covenant, I and you, and let it be for a witness between me and you. And Yaakov took a stone, and he set it upon as a pillar. And Yaakov said unto his brethren, Gather stones. That they took stones, and made a heap. And they did eat there upon the heap. And Laban called it Yagir Shadutah, and Yaakov called it Gilead. And Laban called it Yagir Sahudathah, and Yaakov called it Gilead. And Laban said, This heap is a witness between me and you this day. Therefore was the name called Gilead. And Mizphath, for he said, YAHUAH watched between me and you, and when you were absent from another. If you shall afflict my daughters, or shall take another woman besides my daughters, no man is with us. See, Elohim is my witness between me and you. And Laban said to Yaakov, Behold this heap, and behold this pillar, which I have cast betwixt me and you. This heap be a witness, and this pillar be a witness, that I will not pass over this heap to you, that you shall not pass over this heap and this pillar unto me for harm. The Elohai of Abraham, and the Elohai of Nachor, and the Elohai of their father judge between us. And Yaakov swore by the fear of his father Yitzchak. Then Yaakov offered sacrifice upon the mount, and called to his brethren to eat bread. And they did eat bread, and tarried all night in the mount. And early in the morning Laban rose up, and kissed his sons and his daughters, and blessed them. And Laban departed, and returned unto his place. And Yaakov went on his way, and the angels of Elohim met him. And when Yaakov saw them, they said, This is Elohim's host. And he called the name of that place Machanaim. And that, my friends, is the end of the Torah portion this morning. And I am so long and far out of time that I cannot continue with the conversation, other than to say, I pray in the name of Jesus, in the powerful name of Yeshua, that you have been blessed. And Lord willing, I'll be back with you tomorrow for our prophets portion. Peace and grace be with all of you. And until next time, God bless.